Hey listeners, welcome to the atintellect podcast. Today we have with us Prashant Mahajan, who's the founder of Zeda.io. Zeda is a platform that focuses on making product management simpler and smarter. Prashant is a product person at heart who has built some of the most successful products across the globe with great companies. He has been a mentor, speaker, and an advisor on various platforms and communities. My conversation with Prashant takes multiple different tangents throughout. We start with his product management journey, which ultimately led him to build Zeda. Prashant also shares his pre-seed and seed fundraising experience and how he built a stellar founding team. There's also a bonus question towards the end where I ask Prashant on how to get into product management without a tech background or an MBA. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the show. Hey Prashant, welcome to the atintellect podcast. Really glad that you're here, even though you have such a busy schedule, building Zeta and uh, whatnot. So thanks for your time, and thanks for pitching in and doing this.
Thanks, Kinshuk, for having me on board. And really have heard your couple of episodes, and I think this is what 18th.
So yeah, this would be 18th.
Okay, yeah. So I have checked out a couple of them, and really good uh, thing you are doing. And I think we should have more podcast and more people sharing their stories so that we can learn from it and probably do less mistakes. I think.
Yeah, no, that's a great notion, and probably that's what really motivates me to do this on a regular basis. Um, cool. So, like when I was preparing for this podcast, I was going through your profile and then your story, generally, which I do for every guest on LinkedIn, and a lot of really unique things stood out, which we'll discuss later in the podcast. Um, but I think the best place to begin this it will be with your journey. So I'll go through your journey from what I could grab from LinkedIn and all these sources, and then you can pitch in as well with certain anecdotes that you might have. So you graduated in 2015 from NIT Jalandhar and directly moved into the world of product management, starting with Paytm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so post Paytm, then you held a few product leadership roles. So one was with Tokopedia, which is I think an e-commerce conglomerate based in Indonesia, and then Branch, which I think is a digital mobile growth platform based in California.
Yeah.
One thing that really stood out to me when I was, going through your journey was that so just after your graduation, you directly jumped into the world of product management, which I think is not, the traditional path. I might be wrong here, but like I had seen this very frequently before. Like most grads would work as a software developer and then probably move into the world of product management, probably get an MBA and then move at a later stage, or at least start as a developer or start as a business analyst, go as a product analyst, and then product management. So my question was that how did you manage to jump directly into product management with Paytm, which I think at that time uh, was a newer company, right? So I think there was
Yeah.
building at that point of time. They were not that famous, that adopted at that point of time. So how did you make that plunge?
So basically, I got lucky, I'll say, right place, right time, and I had the right skills, I'll say, to get into that. So I remember Paytm, and back then people knew it as 197, came to
Yeah.
our college to get hire business analyst because
Hmm.
we were not MBA people. They were hiring business analyst,
Hmm.
and I actually was very shitty at that interview. I could not qualify, and then I was talking to this person who was taking interviews, that chai sutta break, all those things.
Hmm.
And I was telling him how they can make their mobile app better. Now,
Okay.
I did not know back then that what is product management, user experience, and anything like that.
Hmm.
And we were, in that time in college, we were not actually doing internships or anything like that in
Hmm.
particular. I told him few things. He asked me few questions. I told him, okay, how based on my profile, the Paytm homepage could be better, and why they are. Now I know that is called personalization, recommendation, collaborative filtering. Back then, it was just one kid who was giving product ideas and trying to make a product better.
Mhm.
They liked it, and the person was VP of product. So he said
Okay.
that, okay, would I didn't know that. So he said that, would you like to consider product position? Because definitely you suck at business analyst and
Mhm.
you could be a good product guy. He took his
Okay.
chance, and I hope I did not let him down. I actually launched Paytm QR code, the first
Oh,
version of Paytm QR code. So I think it went out to be good journey overall.
great, great. That's a great story. So just to pause there. So you were hanging out basically with somebody who was taking your interview as a business analyst.
Yeah.
Okay, and that interview really went bad, and then you convinced him to that you are keen with product, even though not formally, but you had some interest there, and he got convinced and got you as a product manager out there.
Yeah.
And that happened on the same day, like the same time, when Paytm was there as a to hire business analysts.
Yes,
Wow, that's really a good play of chances, I think.
I know, I
But
know.
but yeah, I think it shows how important it is to interact with people, um, you know and how can one thing lead to another, and just change the career trajectory. Great,
Definitely,
great.
it was great.
All right, so so you moved from Paytm to Tokopedia to Branch, and then the journey which ultimately led you to found Zeda with Weber, who's your co-founder. um, so so first it was product management, and then you quickly then also pivoted into product leadership, right, with I think Tokopedia, and then Branch as well. So how did your role into product evolved as you transitioned from management to leadership?
I think as a product manager, you are more or less doing a lot of execution work. You are talking to people and you're making PIDs, writing PIDs, doing all those stuff. When you become a product leader, you started getting involved in the strategy discussions, the company level roadmap planning, not just product level. You start building the processes instead of building the product, and you start building a product team. You are
Mm,
a mentor, or at least you might not be leading or managing them directly, but at least you have people whom you have to mentor, who look up to you, and your overall say in the company increases. So I
mm,
think that transition happened in Tokopedia when I joined the team as a senior PM,
mhm.
product lead, and then senior product lead. Uh, I built a team, I built products, I started getting involved in the entire strategy, and that continued in branch also, and that has actually helped me in building a great team overall in Zeda also.
Okay. That's a great distinction. So product, when you're a product manager, you're basically focus on the product itself, and the metrics and everything. But when you transition to leadership, you have some people's responsibility as well. Like, people might reach out to you for strategy, for the company's vision, and other more high level stuff which you take
Yeah.
care for. Okay, that's great. Cool. So uh now we can, I think, talk about Zira. I think you also have a really interesting story behind how you started Zira, which we were, I think, going through in the last call that we had, right? Where I think you told a very profound story, and I think it's also on your LinkedIn, which I was reading, that how you came about founding Zira. So um, I think so when you were at Branch, um, and the pandemic struck and things happened. which really motivated you to start Zeta. So can you just take us through that story first before we dive into the product specific questions?
So basically, when I was at Branch, uh, I've anyway transitioned into from product management to product leader. And then,
Yeah.
as I said, when you become a product leader, you are responsible for setting up a process. You want things to be more structured. You want to be part of strategy. You want to make product strategy and company level roadmap. And I realized there's no good tool out there. I started looking out back then, could not come up with anything, and then thought this could be done better.
Mm-hmm.
I started actually before starting the Zeda, I started talking to people
Mm-hmm.
that why they are, uh, how successful they are, how good they are at product management, what are their changes, and so on. A lot of people actually told me they were not happy. And when you have, I talked to like 500, 600 people then, when enough people tell you they are not happy, they're not satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
and you could relate to the problem and you know there could be a solution, you, and that's actually which something which gave me the direction and which gave me enough motivation to start Fed out.
Okay. So you, from what I understand, um, you wanted to solve a personal problem as a product manager because you yourself felt that there are no tools or a suite which could cater to the product team in a better way, and then you uh, did this user research, which I had called to see that if your feelings are coherent with other folks as well, and then when you realize that it's definitely a problem with other teams, other people as well, you thought of why not just take a jump and build something which is more product centric in an organization.
Yeah.
Great. So Zeta again is, from what I could gather, is a product management suite which brings all the essential things required to define, manage, and collaborate. That is all product needs under one place, under one roof. Um, so, do you want to add to this in any way, or is it like the correct definition of the product?
So I'll say that the actually what we are trying to do is,
Mhm.
you are right, end-to-end product management, but we divide it into collecting all the requests at one place, analyzing and generating insight from those requests, then planning which one do you want to pick based on company resources, OKR, prioritization into a roadmap, and then executing them out. So the entire product lifecycle, we do cover it.
Great, great. Awesome. So you started Zeta in the middle of the pandemic, and
Yeah.
definitely things were bad, I think, before, but then once you really had to get go with the product, things started becoming better. But still, you might have faced certain challenges in the journey, right? So can you shed some light on how was the fundraise process like? So you raised you have raised like a pre-seed and the seed round up until now, and I think you raised nearly $450,000 in the pre-seed, and then $1.2 million recently in the seed round from some notable investors. So can you take us through, how was the fundraise process like? Uh, how did you met the investors? How did you pitch, the product? Was the prototype ready at the pre-seed round?
So actually, we did not have a product for a very long time. We raised the funding without product. We had a prototype of Figma file, like what we will build, not actually something working. There was nothing besides a website and a Figma file. So we actually started building the product somewhere in April or May uh, of the year, while we had already closed our pre-seed and then we were closing our seed round. Um, so what got sold and what people trusted us was the problem, that
Mhm.
there exists a problem. So I think for any good successful funding, especially at early stage, You need to have a good enough problem, a problem
Mm.
which people can relate to, problem which is either big enough, like it have a very big market, in our case, almost like $10 billion market. It is frequent, like you might not have a big market, but if the use case is high, the frequency becomes so big that the volume justifies the price.
Yeah.
And then it is uh, vitamin versus painkiller, like immediate problem which people want to solve. We
Mm.
actually qualified for first two for sure, like big enough market and on a daily use case.
Mm.
Vitamin versus painkiller, we took some time to justify. Uh, one more, so that is one part, and the
So
other one is
Zeda is a painkiller or vitamin?
it is transitioning from being a vitamin to painkiller, I'll say.
Okay.
So that is there. We so this is market, the big enough problem. Then the second part is your team. Are you the right people to solve it?
Mm.
We, just because I have been working as a product manager in various companies and countries, have built the team. Weber has developed infrastructure from scratch. He has worked with startups, understood the product development cycles, he was the right. And thirdly, is your direction or the product, because everyone knows honestly, the first version of the product will change, will iterate, will pivot, but do you have a right direction? That these are the three things which early stage investors look for: market slash problem, people, and the uh, direction in which you're going. And in our case, we had these things sorted. Now, coming to how we found the investors, people whom I work with from PTM, Tokopedia, uh, branch, and they kind of help me either invest or they help me connect with the people.
Mm.
We once we started getting one check size, people share it out.
Yeah.
So the problem which we were solving was very relatable to the founders. So a lot of founders of aspiring minds, Zomato,
Mm.
Bright Champs, and Traction, and GoFind, and everyone started uh, kind of associating with the problem,
Mhm.
and that's it. So then we kind of started getting inbound interest. We ended up raising money, uh, and that's the journey.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that's a nice story. So basically, once you decided that you have to raise money, so you went to, your first degree connections, so your uh, probably leaders in Paytm or Tokopedia and branch, and then that X person who got interested brought Y and Z person, right?
Mm.
And it really, like what we call network effects, that came into play, and then that helped you, raise even more money from great investors down the line. Awesome. And so you mentioned WebHub. So just I was curious about, how was, like, first, I think, how did you meet WebHub, and then how did you, collectively decide that you both need to build this, and then how was, building that founding team or the early 5 to 10 member team, like initial stages with Zeta?
So I know Weber now. It's been more than 3 years, I think. Yeah. So I met a common friend at a party, and then we became friends. And then when I was building my team at Branch, the product engineering center for APAC, I
Mm.
asked him, and he joined. Uh, then during COVID, we spent a lot of time together brainstorming, and when we were discussing this problem itself, he also agreed with the problem and start took a leap of faith with me in this.
Mhm.
And yes, it's been going great. So uh, I think Weber also agreed that this problem is good enough, and that mindset to build something of your own was there.
Mm.
Plus, we had a common understanding and respect, so we started it out. Challenge was to hire people. uh, it is in middle of pandemic, people don't want to change a job, they don't want to risk, especially with a startup.
Mhm.
It's a uh, And on the other hand, remote first and very expensive hirings happening with the people who had money. So it
Yeah.
was either zero or like you have to spend a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you convince people at that time?
Mm-hmm.
I think you cannot fight with money, especially early stage founders.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have enough money to fight. So
Okay.
that is no point. Uh, what you can sell is the vision
Mm-hmm.
that why this problem will be good enough and why this problem will be worth solving and how you are the right company. And when you guys start together, you will also get the part of the company. What I mean to say is that ownership, ESOPs.
Mm-hmm.
So we give that up.
Okay.
Uh, Third thing is once they join them, don't treat them like a just a normal employee. They are your teammate. They are the people who trusted you. They
Mm-hmm.
took the leap of faith. They left their comfortable jobs. They left their high paying salaries and everything to join you.
Mm-hmm.
Provide them with the respect, with the admiration, with the uh, celebrations, with every story you have and related to the company and appreciate their work. So the culture you provide is going to make them stay. It's been more than 1 year for people to be part of Zeda.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy and proud to say that we had almost zero attrition so far. Uh, so just the culture, just the growth, just the bigger vision is going to help them out, help you out to get them on board actually.
Great. So that's I think a great way to put it. Congratulations for zero attrition, especially in such a volatile market where people have been moving back and forth very recently. A lot of job changes to be seen, so that's great. Um, so the like I'm sure during the early sales you must have interviewed uh, like majority of the team before hiring
Yeah,
them. Do you still do interviews with
I do.
every person? Okay,
Yeah,
and you plan
I
to
still
continue
do.
to do as you expand the workforce, so there'll be like some breaking point where you like now I can leave
Oh,
this due to someone else.
I don't have the number at which I'll stop doing it, but I would prefer
Hmm.
to at least talk to everyone who joins Zeda. Not
Yeah,
just because I want to know them. I want them to know me. I want them to know the vision, and I think no one can better explain the vision or the story or the purpose than a founder.
yeah.
So you should definitely continue doing that. And honestly, I have seen uh, people start doing it post hiring
Hmm.
maybe, but let's see when that happen. I've seen founders at least they talk once the hire have been done. I have seen it at Tokopedia. I have seen it at Paytm. I have seen it at Branch. I think I no founder should ever stop that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a good experience from the interviewee standpoint as well. Like they get to know who the founder is, and then they get to know that they are taking the time to actually spending that 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes with them really makes them feel valuable as well. So that's great. Um, Coming back to the whole uh, product market fit, I'd say about Zira. So um, this question is more about how does the Zira suite fits on into that, like a typical SaaS toolkit that a company would have. So having worked at large scale organizations like Amazon, Expedia, what I understand is that organizations have a standard suite of tools which they would use across the organization. So like Salesforce for CRM, sales, and then Slack and Teams for communication, Jira for bug tracking, Confluence, GitHub, different IDs for software. Now, where does Zeta fit into this ecosystem? And I think it's a similar setup for startups and small scale companies. The names might be different, the scale might be different, but mostly it revolves around that. So where does Zeta fit in to this ecosystem?
So Zeda is basically right now product management juggle between multiple tools.
Mm,
What we want to do is reduce that juggling. We want to provide one home for product managers. You
mm,
rightly mentioned couple of tools, and I'll say that uh, how you have HubSpot for marketing, you have Figma for designers, you have CRM tools, you have GitHub for developers. We want to be
mhm.
that for PMs.
Okay.
Anything and everything which PM needs, we'll try to provide it over the course of lifetime of Veda. But currently also we cover most of the use cases, and that's where Veda comes in. We become the go-to hub for PMs, and this hub then integrates with developer tool, designer tools, marketing tools, sales support, and so on, so that there's a communication and flow of information between various tools.
Okay. So Zeta is not set to replace any tool which is currently existing in the suite. It's more of an add-on.
Yeah, so basically we do uh, replace Excel sheets and Notion docs and couple of
Mm,
other uh, tools which are being used. Like we can be a feedback collection tool, we could be a project management tool, we could be a documentation tool. But more or less, we want to uh, create a category of our own. Actually, there are a couple of tools like AHA and Product Board which exist in the market, but it's a still a relatively new market with less number of players, and we
mm.
would want to become one.
Great, great. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. This brings me to the follow-up question. So, like before Zeda's birth, and when you were a product manager at various organizations, can you just share some light on what was the traditional way of doing product planning and collaboration? This is pre-Zeta, and then how Zeta comes into that picture and just transforms the way PMs would work.
Sure. So currently in most of the organization, you start your day with going through emails as a PM. Then
Mm,
you will have a stand-up meeting. Then you will uh, spend a lot of time on project management tools, going through Excel sheets, and then you will be going to some dashboard to see analytic. You will be uh, again going in a lot of meetings, a lot of Zoom calls. You will be doing uh, even for user research. You'll be asking questions. You'll be going to various websites, checking out competition, and probably looking and keeping your roadmap up to date on another Excel sheet. In this, you see that we have not been productive because we are jumping between multiple two on to and fro basis, and that context switching, that mental load reduces the productivity, and you don't
mm,
get time. Now, after Zeta, what happens is you have to open Zeta, all your customer feedback, all your new requests from the people, all your documentation, all your analytics, all your roadmaps. Everything is at one place. You can take an action. You can just that friction of jumping between tools is taken care. And because our tool connects with the other team members, so your time to do meetings also reduce because you're not going to meetings more often. Your business team can give you request directly on Zeda. You can create uh, sync with engineering team from Zeda and so on. So your time to meetings reduce, and
mm.
that's where Zeda fits in to make you more productive, make your product management more centralized and streamlined, and in the end, helping you ship better and faster products.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. I've worked with a couple of product managers in the past, in both Amazon and Expedia, and from the type of workload that they have, anything which can make their lives simpler, I think, will be more or less welcomed by them and the company. So they definitely have a lot on their plate, and I think what I can get a sense of from Zira is that it can definitely at least reduce some friction or some stress from their mind, and then they can focus more on their work and get things done quicker, I think. So that's I think a great story to pitch in to the ideal customer base, which really brings me to the next question. Um, what sort of customer base are you targeting currently? Like, are you targeting relatively young product-driven startups, or large companies who are, you know, who are focused into, improving their product landscape and drive more product innovation? So, or it's probably a mix of both. Where is your focus currently?
As a company, our focus is on mid-market,
Mhm,
meaning we do have a startup program, so startups can anyway sign up. We give them discounts and free duration. And once they become big enough, because we are a startup, so we know that in early stage, any money which you could save and you can uh, focus on your product is helpful.
mhm,
So for startup, we don't charge much. For mid-market, that's our goal
mhm.
currently, because for the enterprise companies, the sales cycle is longer.
Yeah.
You need to have a lot of dedicated team, solutioning team, your customer success, your customer support, and so on,
Mhm.
and the compliance part, like
Yeah.
SOC 2 compliance and couple of other compliances, which you are undergoing with.
Mhm,
So current focus, mid-market companies, and especially SaaS companies, because we just had to pick between one, and I think current tool will be great with SaaS companies. So
mhm,
mid-market SaaS companies, that is our focus. And eventually we will be expanding. We are currently also onboarding a lot of unicorn companies, and things are great.
mhm.
But I think in terms of demand gen, lead gen, and I focus, it's mid-market SaaS.
Awesome.
Uh,
Yeah.
and in what stage the product is,
Mhm,
uh, it's available. We actually try to keep the cycle small in the current stage, because a lot of feedback is coming, a lot of feature requests is coming. We have to prioritize, we have to build, and
mhm,
we want to make a product at so great level that when we ship it out, people love it. So we
mhm,
actually have paying customer right now. We have current product is being used and tested by 40-50 companies. uh, we have few couple of paying customers, and the customers range all the way from startups to unicorns, all the way
mhm.
from USA to Philippines.
Okay.
So we have a great amount of people who are using the product.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. All right. So, I think we can pause the product and the Zeda's discussion for a bit. Um, I had reserved this part for some fun, lighthearted questions, which I really wanted to ask you. More about you yourself, your journey, and what do you like to do in your free time and stuff like that. Um,
Uh,
but yeah, one really important and one question which I was personally curious about was around mentorship. So, as a founder, I think it's really important to have certain people around you, who can, when things go south, you can go to them, ask for advice on something if you're not able to decide something, whether it's, around Zeta or something about your life in general. So, do you have certain people in your life? And if yes, then who they are, if you want to share?
yeah. So definitely, it's very important to know or have people who can help you out, your friends, your family. But
Yeah.
a lot of time, especially in my case, like no one has done this entrepreneurial journey, no one is into tech startups and so on. So it becomes very tough to talk to your friends and family. In those cases, uh, people from work, when I say work, these could be people from your past company, people from your network and so on. I have a very good executive coach. He uh, we get on a call. He helps me out. He's also an ex-colleague also.
Mhm,
I also have mentors from the industry. A couple of my angel investors do take out time and help me out uh, whenever I need it, whenever I'm feeling low, or whenever I have to brainstorm. I reach out to those people. Other than that, there have been people who are not investors or not my direct contacts, but I would have met them in my journey, uh, who might have a special expertise in some area, or even I'll be catching up with them in couple of sometime, and then I reach out to them whenever I need help, and again they are good enough people to help me out.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. That's very nice. One question which just popped up into my mind. Just wanted some clarification. So uh, I keep on talking to early stage founders every now and then so people definitely who are still building something and haven't raised money has this kind of a misconception or a notion that once you raise money, once you get some investors on board, your
Mm.
control on that product, on that vision is kind of diluted. So do you like, is that true within the industry? Like how does
Not at
the
all.
conversations between your investors and you happen?
So I think investors give you opinion or give you
Hmm.
feedback. Do
Hmm.
you want to follow them or not is up to you. Unless until they have majority board seat and so on. But
Hmm.
still, I think even in that case, most of the investors trust you,
Hmm.
and as long as they trust you and uh, they also want the growth of the company. In the end, that's the ultimate goal of everyone working with a company, a
Hmm.
founder, employee, investor, that the company should benefit and grow.
Hmm.
Uh, and because you have started the company, you have the vision, you understand the ins and outs, most investors trust you. And especially uh, in the early stage investment, people want to give you freedom. They want you to do things. They will give you feedback on GTM, on product, on the vision, everything. But I haven't met anyone so far who is pushing you to change it, because otherwise they will not invest in you, right? They
Yeah.
would have not invested in the product. Uh, Generally, even in the later stage, what I have seen is due to certain factors of founder not becoming ruthless or brash or something, or the market situation changes,
Hmm.
and then you realize that at this stage of the company, the needs have changed.
Hmm.
Then investors come in, but otherwise, most of the investors have their own job to do, their own work to do, and they also have a lot of other companies to and the fund to manage. No one does that.
Great, great. So they are there most for guidance when you need them,
Yeah,
but they don't dictate on the daily activities or how you should shape your
definitely.
product.
Yeah, definitely no.
Awesome. That's great. Um, Coming on to your favorite hobbies or any mindfulness practices that you have. So like definitely founding and running a startup is a very tough job to do, and it takes a toll on you. Earlier before this discussion we were joking about how many meetings you had scheduled for the day. So
Yeah.
how do you keep yourself sane in all this storm that happens almost every day? Do you have any hobbies, mindfulness practices?
I do use Headspace. I used to be quite often in that. Now that has reduced a bit. I do
Mhm.
like to read, so every day I'll spend some time reading. I do uh, take a break now and then just to clean up my head. Could be watching movie, could be going out. I think mental burnout is a big thing in founder journey. A
Mhm.
lot of people face that, and I have seen that being one reason where founder gave up.
Mhm.
So uh, you should take breaks now and then. No, nothing is gonna crash in one day or a week.
Mhm.
Other than that, I think I do come home by walking. It's 2-3 kilometer walk,
Okay.
and that time actually gives me to either think or just play music or just you know not think sometime. Just
Mhm.
watch what's happening in the world.
Mhm. Great. So these small escapes in a day is what you try to do to really keep yourself mindful about everything and just try to relax and calm you down. That's very nice. Um, just out of curiosity, um, how does what does your typical day look like? Like, are you like an early morning person or a late night person? Then do you straight away just wake up, start working, or do you have some routine as well in place?
Yeah. So my day generally I sleep early, 11:30 or 12. I
Okay.
wake up around 7, 7:30.
Mhm.
Um, I will go spend some time just playing with my dog. She's outside, and then
Okay.
I'll probably go to gym. I'm trying to make that also a regular habit. Make my
Right.
breakfast, go to work,
Mhm.
go through the news, then stand up, start, then have a couple of other meetings of the day, talk to a customer, go through the roadmaps and Zeda dashboard and talk to people what's happening. I
Mhm.
try to do one-on-one now. Uh,
Mhm.
then, as I said, the day goes like that. Come back, walking, that cleans up the mind. Come back home, spend time with my girlfriend, or uh, just watch something.
Mhm.
Do I'm uh, yeah, and then you might have one call, meeting, or
Mhm.
interview, or something like that, which will be there.
Yeah.
And then I try to just shut down, read something, sleep.
Great. That's actually a good schedule. I mean, it's not like most of what we read and what we see, right? People waking up at
Yeah.
5 a.m. straight away answering emails and doing
Yeah.
crazy work hours. That's good. That's a pretty balanced schedule, I think. You get time to do other stuff as well. So that's great. Um, moving ahead, this one really was something I wanted to ask. So majority of your schooling and even your engineering was done from Punjab, right?
Yeah.
How was it like growing up there in your early days? Then you moved to Bangalore, I think, 3 years back. So it's been almost 3 years now there.
Uh, so yeah, post COVID.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 So how like how has Bangalore been to you? And then do you miss some stuff, a few things from your early days in Punjab or probably the northern part of India?
Uh, so yeah, I did grow up all the while in Punjab, and then I got a chance to travel. Actually, I was in Indonesia, I was in USA. I traveled 15 countries now almost, and
Oh.
it's been a good journey. Uh, I'm the first one who moved out of my hometown, like in my family, for study, for work actually.
Mm.
And the coming from a lower middle class, this has been great. Like I remember, I was actually 24 when I took my first flight, so it was very new experience. And then coming, you traveling for work, you getting international jobs and everything was never expected. Uh, I actually was sharing this story that growing up, I had an internship in Gurgaon near Cyber Hub. That was
Mm.
my dream job. Like, oh yeah, मेरे को तो Cyber Hub was my goal because I could
Yeah.
not afford to go to the fancy restaurants there.
Mm.
So I thought, okay, we'll get a job and then I'll go, and that was my goal. So now things have changed.
Mhm.
So in that, so the journey has been great overall. I came to Bangalore during COVID, did not travel much. I was actually
Mm.
going to move to Tokyo, uh, but then I decided to start Zeda. I came
Mm.
to Bangalore last year in January, uh, spent some time with Weber and then found a place.
Mm.
Most of the early days were still lockdown, COVID
Yeah.
uh, concerns, and then COVID second wave happened. I
Mm.
think started traveling only in June, July.
Mm.
I like the place. Uh, I like the vibe. A lot of startups, like a lot of the culture, the people, the vibe matches.
Mm.
I do miss one thing, which is the North Indian food,
Mm.
like the proper North Indian food. That is missing. I come from it, so yeah, I miss that. uh, and I think recently I was saying that one thing which I also miss is the Saidi. Like you don't, the weather is normal. It's not too extreme, too hot or
Yeah,
too cold. I'm glad with that, but still in Punjab the wind is so good in the winters.
yeah,
You sometimes miss that.
yeah. I mean, it's always, in the winters you're just sitting outside with a bonfire and everything else. It's something to be missed. But yeah, Bangalore's weather is probably, the best in India, so that's great. And I can relate to the food. Definitely, it's a challenge, especially if you're a foodie and you're from northern part of India. But I think slowly, um, a lot of places are popping up which are bridging that gap. So uh, there might be
If you have good,
places.
like really good places to share me out, I am trying to find and bookmark them.
Yeah, no, I remember because I spent 2 years in Hyderabad. I was not in Bangalore though, but Hyderabad initially also I was really struggling to find good food places out there. But eventually I was able to find a few restaurants which served really authentic Punjabi cuisine. So that was nice. Um, Bangalore I haven't explored that much. I've been there for just a period of few weeks through work only. So not sure, but yeah, I hope you find some good places soon. Um, so you said that you read a lot. So just want to ask, which book do you have on your bedside table currently, and what will be your top book recommendation to anyone?
So currently I'm reading AI 2041. It's
Oh
You are also reading it?
no, so I did a podcast with somebody who's a software developer based in Gurgaon. That was last Saturday, and she was reading the same exact book.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a
Uh,
bit good trend. I think I need to
yeah.
pick this up.
Yeah. So this is one, and another one which I recently finished is Freedom from the Known, and that is still on my bed bedside. So these two
Okay.
books. I A book which I will definitely recommend to people will be the Homo sapien series, the Homo sapien, Homo Deus, and 21 problem of 21st century. It gives you
Okay.
very good look on past, present, and future, and I
Mhm.
think a very good perspective to how you look at the world.
Okay. Okay. That's great. I will link all these books in the show notes so anyone who is curious can check these out. That these are great recommendations. Is there a correlation between, I think, almost all um, I think tech founders that I've talked to read mostly science fiction and things
It's
about the future and the past. Is there a correlation between that?
I'm not
Like,
sure, but I think people it gives you a look into the future.
yeah. So you were always interested in science fiction and things like these, or something you recently acquired a taste
No,
of?
no, no. I think I was always interested in science fiction. I did
Mhm.
not understand how that will be possible and how that works earlier. Now I do.
Yeah,
Earlier it was more like fascination. Now it's more like uh, inspiration or understanding.
great. Yeah, because I think entrepreneurs can only, like, they live a life that is closest to what these books tell you. So that's great. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, brings me to the last question, and then we also have one bonus question reserved for the later. So this I picked up from another podcast, so won't take credit for that, but it was really a good question. Really, I was curious about this. So when you're old and you look back on your life, how do you want people to remember you?
Uh, Good question. How do I want people to remember me? I'll say there's a book called $1 Trillion Coach,
Okay.
Bill Campbell.
Hmm.
Uh, If possible, that will be my thing. People should remember me like that. So
What
that
what
person
what
called.
is it about?
So
Like,
there's
if you
this
can just.
guy, person called Bill Campbell. He was
Mhm,
actually, he has affected all our lives. We may not know, we may not realize, but he was on board of Apple, Google. Uh, he influenced Intel. He influenced Facebook. He influenced Tesla. He influenced like on from 90s to 2010, 15, almost all companies, uh,
mhm,
which we might directly or indirectly, he was connected to so many people.
mhm.
But not just top. The thing is, on his funeral, uh, the guy next to Tim Cook was his driver. So
Okay.
that level of impact, from all the way from small to big to every other person you meet,
Mhm,
that he impacted everyone's life in a positive way. So that's why they remembered him. Not for his money, not for his fame, not for anything, but for
mhm.
his positive impact.
Okay.
And yeah, that impact I want to leave, that it should be a positive impact, uh, to at least few people.
Awesome. That's a great notion. Uh, so leaving a positive impact um, on everyone's life. That's great.
Yeah.
And hopefully with your work and the future projects that you work upon, I think everything will fall into place and have that impact on people and humanity. So that's awesome. Um, Quickly, just wondered, because I really was curious, and I really enjoyed this talk that you gave fairly recently, which was titled "How to Get into Product Management Without an MBA or a Tech Background." Um, while I was preparing for this podcast, I actually listened to this talk, really liked it. Uh, so that's why I wanted, to, if you could share a few tips or a short summary of the talk with some actionable insights on how people without an MBA or a tech background can pivot into product management. I think that'll be great for the listeners.
So, um, with more and more cohort-based courses coming and with more and more things being available online, I think getting into product management has become very easy now.
Mm,
Uh, just go, in the simplest way, I'll say that you go for a, you search a problem,
mm,
okay, and then start thinking how you will solve that problem.
mm,
Then divide the problem into various sections like the flow.
mm.
Go to Google and find a no code solution for each of them, plug it up, and you have a solution. Now go
Okay.
to market and uh, ask, show the people and see what is the feedback, and then
Mhm,
improve the product. Either you will learn most of the product management,
mhm.
or you will have a successful idea and a startup, or you will have something to show when you are doing a resume or interview. So this is the simplest way and the highest awareness.
Awesome. Awesome. So just going out there, trying to understand what the problem is, building MVPs, like essentially what you said, like no code solution is the basic MVP that you can build, test it out with
Yeah,
the users. You
yeah,
Either you learn something, either you create a product or a startup, and you also learn the trade. um,
yeah.
like, when you're hiring for Zeda, and when I think you might have earlier hired for Docopedia and or other organizations you work for, do is the current hiring practice, does it really looking forward somebody who's from an ABC institution, has done this, or they are also preferring more of an hands-on approach, like you just mentioned?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. Uh, we currently don't even, I don't know
Mhm.
uh, what are the degrees of people who work in my company. I never asked. I never even know the college. Uh, Previous company, maybe I know. In couple of cases, I don't even know that.
Mhm.
What I do care now is that the skills, the culture fit, and the uh, willingness to learn. Everything else can be fixed up.
Great, great. No, that's a great way to look at hiring, and I think Zira is on the pursuit of building a great team, and I think with this culture and with everything else, I think you know the teams will get bigger and more stronger, more aligned towards the product and the goals that you have. Awesome. I think that's a good way to end the podcast. Thank you again for your time, Prashant. Really grateful to carve out time for this within your busy schedule. You could be doing 100 other things, but I'm glad that you are here. So really
Anytime,
grateful
anytime,
for that.
anytime.
Or
Thanks for having me. It was amazing talking to you and sharing my journey. And this was super helpful. And people who are listening, if I can be of any help, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn.
awesome. Yeah, I'll add your contact details in the show notes. So anybody who's listening to this and want to reach out to you, they can do that. Thanks again, Prashant. It was great talking to you.
Great.
Hey listeners, thank you for tuning in to Ad Intellect. The contact details of the guests and any additional relevant links are available in the show notes below. We'd love to hear what you think about the podcast, so please write to us on atintellect@gmail.com. Until next time, peace.